Hey, Liz Cheney is going down and deserves to go down. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Representative Liz Cheney, the rhino from Wyoming, is on her last stretch before her primary on August 16th. By every reasonable indication, she's going to lose. So why doesn't she just drop out of the race and announce her retirement from the House of Representatives? Because she is on assignment. Furthermore, her assignment comes from the globalists of whom her father was once a prominent member. And what she was assigned to do was to violate the Constitution wholesale and send half the country up the river. Today, I'm going to tell you how and what that means. Before I go into detail, I do want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, including the t-shirt for the day. 1984 was not an instruction manual. That is, it wasn't supposed to be. But that is exactly how Liz Cheney must have read it, if she did read it. KTVQ-TV Channel 2 Billings, Montana has the latest poll from that primary. It comes from the Casper Star-Tribune. I have a link to it in the description. In a head-to-head matchup, Harriet Hageman, Liz Cheney's most powerful challenger, leads with 52% of the vote. Against that, Liz Cheney has 30%, with 11% undecided. Harriet Hageman has the endorsement of Donald J. Trump, but almost as many voters said that makes them less likely to vote for Hageman as more likely. And even so, a plurality of voters, 44%, said it doesn't make any difference to them. And perhaps a Donald Trump endorsement does make a difference in helping decide for whom to vote instead of Liz Cheney, so that she can't split the vote. In fact, 66% of Republican voters disapprove of Liz Cheney's performance in office. Liz Cheney knows how much trouble she's in. A month ago, she was openly asking Democrats to cross over to vote for her in the Republican primary. We don't hear about that anymore, mainly because Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, Republican of course, said she couldn't recruit enough Democratic crossovers. So now she's brought her campaign around to the real issue. Her service on a kangaroo court that exists to write bills of attainder and an ex post facto law against American patriots. She started touting her service on July 7th. Now she says, win or lose, it was worth it. She said this to Axios and to Business Insider. That she would say such a thing at all tells us she knows she's going to lose. Now, I already see you people scratching your heads and asking, bills of what? Ex post what? A bill of attainder is a law declaring a particular person to be an outlaw. Literally, it's what happens when the legislature singles out a person or persons for punishment. Trial in a bill of attainder case, if you can call it that, takes place in the legislature itself. A committee holds the preliminary hearing and returns the equivalent of the true bill of indictment. Then the full chamber takes up the bill as the equivalent of the jury trial, as with other bills. An ex post facto law prescribes punishment for conduct prior to its passage. By definition, it is retroactive. And under any regime that allows that, one cannot be sure that the legislature will not hold him guilty for conduct that the legislature might even have favored at one time. They used to do that kind of thing in ancient Rome. In fact, if you go back to the Social War, you'll find references to the Varian Commission, which tried those who wanted to extend Roman citizenship to Italian allied countries, and then the Plautian Commission, which tried those who didn't want to so extend the Roman citizenship. Now you can understand why the framers did not want to allow that kind of thing. The Supreme Court has in fact weighed in on bills of attainder and ex post facto laws in 5 cases. They are Ex parte Garland, 4 Wallace 333 of 1866, Cummings versus Missouri, 4 Wallace 277, 1866, U.S. versus Brown, 381 U.S. 437, 1965, Nixon versus Administrator of General Services, 433 U.S. 425, 1977, and Selective Service Administration versus Minnesota Public Interest Research Group, 468 U.S. 841, 1984. The Garland, Cummings, and Brown cases are the most relevant here. In each, the court held that Congress or a state legislature had passed either a bill of attainder or an ex post facto law. The Constitution forbids Congress and the states to do either thing. But Liz Cheney is openly calling for multiple bills of attainder and a massive ex post facto law. Before I get into how I could possibly have the soul to say such a horrible thing, I want to shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. This is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well, even the administrators can't see it. Therefore, that is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back in. You don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link at the very bottom, give them a try. 28 days free of charge. Can't beat that with a stick. Okay. Where are we? Now, we now turn to Liz Cheney and the conduct that she defends, which is what Wyoming voters held against her. Everything she has said in public, well, almost everything, is to the effect that Donald J. Trump must be disqualified from ever again holding an office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States, or presumably any of them. She voted twice to send articles of impeachment against Trump to the Senate. The Senate, for its part, did not convict the president on either set of articles. But that doesn't satisfy Liz Cheney. Follow what she says. Quote, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say things that aren't true about the election. My opponents are doing that, certainly, simply for the purpose of getting elected. Unquote. False. I am a sworn officer of election in Hanover County, Virginia, and I can tell you that certain OOEs in at least 6 states ran the election of 2020 in a highly irregular manner. Early in my training, I described to my training officer, who happens to be the deputy registrar for Hanover County, some of the doings that made the news on the night of November 3rd, 2020. And she looked me right in the eye and said the conduct of the OOEs involved was disgraceful, especially interfering with poll watchers and even having them out of the room on false pretexts of building safety compromise. Incidentally, that is why I became an officer of election myself, on the theory that it's better to be an OOE than to complain about their conduct afterward. Well, the January 6th committee has refused even to look at the evidence of wrongdoing by OOEs. So when Liz Cheney says that her political opponents are fabricating stories of wrongdoing, the opposite is true. She is concealing such evidence, and not only does she show no remorse and take no alarm, but she seems perfectly copacetic with promoting a narrative that none of those OOEs did anything wrong. Let's go on. Quote, if I have to choose between maintaining a seat in the House of Representatives or protecting the constitutional republic and ensuring the American people know the truth about Donald Trump, I'm going to choose the Constitution and the truth every single day, unquote. Well, in fact, she has chosen to threaten the constitutional republic and is trying to have that committee deemed Trump an outlaw. Why else does she say that she wanted to, and again I quote, ensure Donald Trump is never anywhere near the Oval Office ever again? Why indeed? Nor is Donald Trump her only target. Now see if you can parse this. Quote, individuals like those who are running the Republican conference, who are the leadership of the Republicans in the House, need to be held accountable for their actions, and they need to understand how serious this situation is, unquote. Now, just a minute. What can individuals like those who are running the Republican conference include, if not every single supporter of Trump? How is this not a declaration that she considers all Trump supporters outlaws? Monica Hess, who normally writes for the Washington Post, as she's a fashion columnist, for crying out loud, came out from behind their paywall to publish an opinion piece in the Anchorage Daily News. She said Liz Cheney understood the assignment, and the assignment is to say to all Trump supporters a screed to this effect: poor deluded fools, you voted for treason. Turn yourselves in and submit yourselves for judgment. You should never vote again. Well, how else can anyone interpret these exact words from Liz Cheney? There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain. She said it. She looked straight into a camera and said it. Now, whose dishonor is she talking about? Hey, Liz Cheney, if you happen to hear what I'm saying, leave a comment. And any of you who are OOEs in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, if you think I am accusing you unfairly, or you think I heard something wrong, all right then. As one officer of election to others, I say to you, leave a comment. I don't delete comments unless Thomas Bowdler might have to. As if that weren't enough, Liz Cheney has selected another target: the wife of the senior Supreme Court Justice. We've known for 2 months that Virginia Lamp Thomas called on the Arizona legislature to exercise their Article II powers. You know how it reads: each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors. And we know something else. The Supreme Court is going to take up a case arising out of legislative powers over elections. Moore versus Harper, docket number 21-1271. This is exactly what the American political left does not want. And this very likely is what Liz Cheney does not want. And so, according to Fox News and the New York Post, she is threatening Ginny Thomas with a subpoena. The timing of this threat cannot be more suspicious. The Supreme Court granted certiorari in the Moore versus Harper case on June 30th. 6 days before then, the court shocked the left with its ruling in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's. And the very day before that ruling came its ruling in the New York gun case. Clarence Thomas delivered the opinion of the court in that matter, and a withering concurrence in Dobbs. So Liz Cheney is doing what women often do, taking her revenge on another woman allied with her enemies. Get ready for the cat fight of the century. The voters of Wyoming have the job of protecting the Constitution against one who would violate it wholesale. By every indication, that is exactly what they are going to do. Link in the description to the article, to the Casper Star Tribune poll, to the definitions of the terms Bill of Attainder and ex post facto law, which also lists those 5 Supreme Court cases I mentioned, and the conservative news and views. I have another link to the awesome online store and to BitNext, as I also mentioned. If you like what you've heard, you can like this video. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link. Also, a link to my earlier video describing what's wrong with the January 6th committee, and some excellent catfight videos, both real catfights and moviedom's most famous catfight of all, the Gypsy Catfight from the motion picture From Russia with Love with Sean Connery as James Bond 007. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.